Let's say China.
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 China. China.
They're our next door neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
You go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump's statement, tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel. What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes, hello, and welcome. I am James Andrews, and you are listening to So This Happened, the only news you need if you are stuck on a desert island with literally no access to anything except So This Happened. It's Tuesday, the 1st of August, 2017, and today I'm going to start off by torturing you with that elephant-murdering twat, Eric Trump, and the human genital wart, Sean Hannity. Eric was on Hannity's show last night on Fox News talking about General Kelly and, well, Eric talked about how wonderful the president's cabinet is, and I suppose that just depends on which day you ask him because it literally seems to change on a daily basis. Anyway, here are these two morons.
He is an amazing human being. You know, he's an incredible guy. I've gotten to know him. He's tough. He's disciplined. He's incredibly smart. He will operate that place so incredibly well. And listen, my father has so many people, so many great people by his side. I mean, the whole cabinet. I mean, he really has one of the most impressive cabinets there. But in terms of organization, I think you give it to a military guy. I think he is going to do an incredible, incredible job for the Trump administration.
I was watching your father out tweeting all weekend, and I agree with your dad. They, either they're quitters, total quitters in the Senate, or repeal and replace is not dead. Yeah. And I'm like, this is August. Your father's been in office since the 20th of January. Yeah. And I'm a registered conservative, but I mostly vote Republican. I'm like, what's wrong with these people?
And look at the weight that he has to carry, right? I mean, look at the weight and look at the good things that are happening. I mean, the media doesn't want to talk about it. You talk about it, but the media doesn't want to talk about it. But you would think they would get on the bandwagon of what? We have a stock market that's 100 points off of,
a record.
22,000. It's already at a record. It broke another record today. He's broken 30 records in the last, 3-4 months. I mean, it's just skyrocketing. You look at oil prices and how good that is, right, for this. You look at infrastructure, all the pipelines and things that are going in. You look at the military, what he's doing. You look at the VA and what he's doing. I mean, tax reform, which he obviously wants to get done, which would be incredible for this country. You look at consumer confidence. You look at building in America. I mean, so many incredible things that are being done, and all they want to focus on is Russia and the scandal. And I guarantee you, if you watch the mainstream media, the only thing that they're going to talk about is Anthony for the next 2 weeks,
4 days,
whatever it is. But they won't talk about the stock market. They won't talk about people's 401ks. They won't talk about the
regulation
economy.
Gone, the promises kept.
I mean,
Well, there was Sean and Eric having a big circle jerk over a photograph of Donald Trump. And you'll notice that Eric said a lot of things about what his dad's done, but he just sort of listed bullet points. He didn't really get into the meat of it, which suggests, and it doesn't just suggest because you can actually look it up and find out that this is true, that there is no meat. It's all just sort of, the economy, he's made so many jobs. He's building bridges, he's building railways. Oh, tax reform, don't even get me started on tax reform. Okay, Eric, we won't get you started on tax reform because it's not even been looked at yet, my friend. And the fact that a hack like Sean Hannity is the only person that will have someone like Eric Trump on there extolling the virtues of his father kind of tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? And now, on to good news coming out of a state where I very rarely have good news to report. But today, in Alabama, a judge has rejected a law that puts teenage girls who are seeking an abortion through a court-like process with a lawyer actually representing the fetus. This was a 2014 law that it required a pregnant girl who wanted an abortion without parental consent to notify the district attorney, who would then assign a lawyer to the fetus to represent the unborn child in a courtroom. Anyway, today, a judge sided with the ACLU and struck down the law as unconstitutional. So, well done. A victory coming out of Alabama of all places. And yesterday we sort of touched on Brexit and what it will mean for the United Kingdom and the European countries when open borders are no longer there. Well, today, the real-life Barney Rubble, Boris Johnson, spoke about why he thinks immigration is good. Now, you'll remember, Boris Johnson was sort of the main man that convinced over 50% of Britons to vote to exit Europe. So his comments are rather Trumpian.
I say what I've always said. As a society, as a city of London, benefited massively from having talent come to our shores. We benefit from a larger Australian population. I think we had 400,000 French people living in London when I was mayor. It's fantastic for the energy and dynamism of the economy, and Australia is very similar in its composition.
Well, it's a shame you didn't say that a year ago, Boris, when people were going to the polls to decide to exit Europe. Perhaps if they'd heard from you that, no, immigration's wonderful. It's what makes London so fantastic, is this dynamism and this wonderful, the immigrants, and they are wonderful people, and they came and made London brilliant, and I was the mayor, and it was wonderful. I mean, just the exponential growth and the downright fabulousness of the immigration is, but don't forget, we must Brexit. And I apologise for my frankly awful Boris Johnson impression, but sometimes I just can't help myself. And speaking of people who just can't help themselves, Lindsey Graham this morning on NBC, when asked about North Korea, said that military options were a possibility, when he was then pushed on the point where experts have said there is no good military option in North Korea. The great humanitarian Lindsey Graham responded thusly.
They're wrong. There is a military option to destroy North Korea's program and North Korea itself. He's not going to allow President Trump the ability of this madman to have a missile to hit America. If there's going to be a war to stop him, it will be over there. If thousands die, they're going to die over there. They're not going to die here. And he's told me that to my face. And that may be provocative, but not really. When you're President of the United States, where's your allegiance lie? To the people of the United States.
Well, Lindsey Graham, so long as it's the old slanty eyes dying and not us, it's all okay, isn't it? That really is just an incredible statement to me, that this man is saying, look, if people are going to die, it's not our people that's going to die, it's going to be those North Koreans. And remember, 99% of people in North Korea are incredibly poor, living in awful situations where they actually have no idea what is going on in the outside world. But fuck them. If they're going to die, they're going to die. At least it won't be our boys and girls dying, right? Well, then it's okay. And now I want to jump back a few days in time, if I may. And the only reason I'm doing this is in the press briefing just now, Sarah Huckabee Sanders made a statement, and, well, you'll remember this.
You see these towns, and when you see these thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, you just see them thrown in, rough. I said, please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know, the way you put their hand over. Like, don't hit their head, and they've just killed somebody, don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay?
Yeah, that was President Trump a few days ago when he was talking to a group of police officers endorsing police brutality, telling them, you're being too easy on these guys, make it a little bit harder for them. Well, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was just asked about the president's statement on police brutality, and her response was, he was making a joke. He was not being serious. Well, Donald Trump, you are the worst fucking comedian I have ever seen. And it's only taken us 10 minutes, but now on to the big story of the day. Recently, Donald Trump Jr., Donnie, as we affectionately like to call him, released a statement about a meeting he had had with the Russian lawyer. And in that statement, he said, yeah, we talked about adoption and it was pretty dull. You know, Jared was there, but he got bored. He left. Paul Manafort was there, but he was just fucking around on his phone, wasn't really paying attention. And then it kind of came out, yeah, well, we may have mentioned something about Hillary Clinton and the campaign, but you know, it wasn't a big deal. Donald Trump went on to say a few days later, I didn't even know anything about it. I mean, the first thing I heard about it was when it was on the news. I knew nothing about it. Well, today it turns out, according to the Washington Post, Donald Trump, Sr., the president, dictated the statement to little Donnie. So, for a man who didn't know anything about it until he saw it on the news, well, okay, so he actually dictated it and told little Donnie exactly what to say. That's a big stretch. Now, if this turns out to be true, and it's been confirmed by multiple sources, Donald Trump may be in a little bit of trouble now, because we are now edging closer and closer to that obstruction of justice charge that people have been trying to pin on him. Because he came out and said, I knew nothing about it. Well, if it turns out that in fact he dictated the statement that Donnie was going to read to the media, then, well, yes, you knew quite a lot about it, and you thought that, ooh, if that comes out, that's going to be quite bad for me. So, Donnie, write this down. No, grab a pen and a piece of paper, write it. No, you don't have to put fucking quotation marks. This is coming from you. Okay, so start it. Okay, ready? Here we go. And while misleading and lying to the media is not a criminal offence in and of itself, this may be enough to push Mueller to look further into this. And if that happens, then this is not good for the Trump White House, because now Mueller has reason to look into these emails, whereas before it was sort of, there wasn't much there. It was just sort of little Donnie having a meeting with a Russian. He said what happened, not a big deal. But now we find out that the president dictated what Donnie was to tell the media. All of a sudden it looks like, well, wait a second, what are we hiding here? Why would the big dog have to dictate it to the little dog? And so these are all the questions now that Mueller and other people are going to start asking. What are we trying to hide? Why do this? You know, because you wouldn't dictate what someone has to say unless there's some things that you don't want people to find out, right? I mean, that's common sense. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even that smart, apparently. But I know that if you are telling someone exactly what to say, it's because there are certain things you don't want them to say. And of course, it could just be that little Donnie's a complete idiot and he just was lost for words. And he said, Dad, I don't know what to put. Dad, I can't think. I don't know what to put. Can you help me, Dad? Can you help me? You've never helped me before in my whole life. Could you please just help me with this one little thing? Please. But I don't actually think that's what happened. And I'm pretty sure nobody else thinks that's what really went on. So, this is something that's going to develop over the next few days, and I look forward to reading some tweets about it. And we're almost out of time, but before we go, I just want to bring your attention to one other story. This takes place in Colorado. Monday morning, when staff members went to work at the polymer manufacturer called Organics Incorporated in Colorado there, they found that the front door to their office had been smashed in. The glass was just all over the floor, and somebody had broken in. They called the police department. The police department came. Then they reviewed the CCTV footage of the front entrance, and it turns out that the thieves had not even bothered to cover their faces, because the thief was a goat. Yes, a goat headbutted its way into the office. And it is so cool. If you go to YouTube, you can look at the video, and It's great. I love goats. I absolutely love goats. Anyway, thank you so much for chatting. And remember, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's So This Happened. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast and leave me a nice little comment if you want, or a miserable comment. It's up to you. Anyway, take care, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Bye.